Welcome everyone to my playthrough of Fractal Beyond the Void. I am your host, Brian Giordano. We're playing two factions against each other. We have Goria, the Bone Merchants, and VAX 117, the Artificial Queen here. And let's talk a little bit about their faction and what they can do. So first we have this Mastery card. And let's take a quick look at this. I'm gonna set this up so you guys can see this. Let's see. All right, we're going to come over here with this mastery card. All right, take a look at that artwork, and it says, once per battle, when you successfully force an enemy unit to retreat, you may add it to your bone coin pool. All right, so that's a mastery card, and then we have this government card called Trade Federation. Let me put it down. All right, so Trade Federation. As an action, for each 3 influence, place 1. And that is called I believe a living galaxy. Let me take a look at that. Yes, that's a living galaxy. In a sector you control, or add 1 unit from another player's reserve to your bone coin pool. Or, actually not or, and at the end of the cycle, you return any number of units from your bone coin pool to trigger as many exploitation areas or gain as many science tokens. And I do apologize about the glare there. I'm reading off the card. I wasn't really looking at what you're looking at, so I do apologize. I'll try to reduce that as much as possible. So that is the Goria. That's the mastery and the government actions. And then you have Goria here, the Bone Merchants, native inhabitant. After performing any basic action using a action token, action marker, you may trigger a battle in a contested sector with your units, including siege. And siege occurs when you are attacking a sector that has an enemy opponent's colony on it, okay? So then you have Bone Trader at the bottom. It says units in the Bone Coin pool cannot be recruited. Whenever an effect instructs you to remove a unit from your Bone Coin pool, return it to its original player's reserve. And then they have at the bottom, that's your Bone Coin pool. I'll just put the whatever units end up on here on the card itself. So that's that. Now let's go over to VAX 117. Let's look at the mastery card. So for VAX 117, really gorgeous card art here. Take a look at that. It says, there we go. Let's call those the right term. I think they're just infantry, but make sure I'm using the right terminology. Infantries, yes. Your infantries gain the Resist 1 ability, and Resist 1 means you can take 1 damage and just absorb it without taking a casualty in the combat. And then anytime you would add any number of infantries to the board, only add 1. I have played through these a few times to get an idea how to play this game, and I can tell you it's extremely limiting to only get 1, but they're pretty powerful, and I haven't done combat a whole lot, actually. It really just hasn't happened much, even though, because you're really not built out quite a bit until you get through like round 3. 2 for sure. I think you could have combat if you really wanted to, maybe even 1 if you're really pushing it. But cycles 3 and 4 you're more likely to end up in that situation, I would say. But this is not a review. This is just a playthrough to give you guys an idea what the game's like if you want to buy it. If you already own it, what is it going to be like for you? And hopefully I give you a good example of how the game plays. I think I can tell you for sure. And I'm going to go over a few things about the game. This is not a review, but there's a few things as a new player I think everybody would benefit from learning. And I'm going to talk about those things. So that was the mastery card for the VAX 117. Here's the government card. And the government is meritocratic society. And you get to do 2 things here as an action. For each 3 influence, add 1 infantries or 1 light ship to a sector with your units. And also at the end of the cycle, removing a action token from your research action costs 1 less influence. So it's not just an action token. This would be an exhausted token, and I believe that was the situation we saw earlier. So that's an exhausted token, not just an action token. And that's significant because normally you have to pay 2 influence to unexhausted token that's been exhausted. So we'll talk about that. I'm sure that'll come up. In fact, I'll just do it to give you guys an example of how that plays out. All right. So that is the government card. for the VAX 117. Let's take a look at the faction. There's the card art. Just again, sorry about that glare. In fact, it looks like the camera is shining directly on this, but I can tell you it is completely off to the side. It's just that it captures the light source no matter what. Really difficult. I know what I need to do to fix it, but I actually just need to get more equipment. All right, so let's take a look at what VAX 117 has. The first is a faction ability of Ghost in the Machine. Anytime during your turn, you may check the content of any face-down technology card. That's one card, okay? And then you have Deconstructor. When you remove one or more okay, let's talk about these symbols because these are important. I'm going to tell you what each one of these means. The first one is a living storm. Then you have a living galaxy. Then you have what I believe is an obstacle. And then you have an anomaly. So if you remove any of these four different types of components from the board during your turn, you add one infantry to one of the sectors you removed the components from. Okay, great. So I have to keep that in mind as far as a strategy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that I stumbled upon when I was setting up the game to play. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you that every issue that I had, I found a solution using the rule book. But hold on, let me get out of this. So either the rule book itself, the quick reference sheets, and between the tokens, sometimes it took some logical deduction. But let me tell you, there's some good references in here. However, I will also say that nothing is complete. Like you can't go to any one page and find it all. In fact, even on here, I believe I found at least one token that did not have the icon present here, but I was able to find it in the main body of the rule book. So things like this, for example, let me give it a perfect example. So all these conditions, like you really don't get these conditions explained on this quick reference sheet, in my opinion, the same way as they are on here. Although this definitely has its purpose. It is useful. Don't get me wrong. Um, let's talk about setup. So some of the difficulties I had at setup. Well, first and foremost, I want to say at the very beginning of the rule book, I feel like now that I've played the game a few times, that there was just too much talking about components up front. It would have been best just to identify what is the component, what exactly is it, how many of them are there, although it does a good job on this page. But then how many of them are there? What is the component? And then move on because there's so much discussion about it that by the time you get to the rules, I feel like and look at the setup steps here. There's another page of explanation. And by the time you get to the setup, we're looking at 24 steps here. All right. So I think that it would have been a little brevity, probably would have been better here, and then discussing these things in more detail as they unfold throughout the instruction of the rule book. So that's my first thing that I will say about the rule book. Number two is one of the first things you do in this game is you choose a map, but they have you going to the back of the book at page 23. This isn't a big deal, but I don't understand its purpose for being back here. I don't feel that it's some additional information like you normally would put at the back of a rule book. This is uh this is vital to setting up the game, and I think it would be best put right here. Right here. And I know they probably wanted to have this opposing page to these 24 steps, but I still think that you still have to go to another page, so it doesn't matter. You're breaking your continuity anyway. So I think it would have been better presented to put the map layouts here and then this on the other page and then go from there. But we'll see. So let's just talk about now setup, some things I had a problem with. And let me go through. So choosing the map. Let's talk about that. So I chose to pick a compact map because I want to make sure we can see some combat during this playthrough. So there's fewer tiles. And what it doesn't really tell you, it doesn't really explain to you is that these tiles, let me see, bring it up here. These tiles you put down exactly as they are. But when it comes to the additional variable components, it says on here, those tiles you just keep and you shuffle them and put them down. You put them down randomly. Okay. So it's not like if you've ever played a game like this, you wouldn't realize, like, okay, this is probably what I have to do. But if this is your only space game you've ever played, or you're new to board gaming, I don't think you would really know that. I think that's one thing that you just have to kind of just go with. And it does not do a very good job, because let's look back at the setup. The setup has you choose a map. That's the very first thing to do, and then lay out the components. Randomly lay out the map's variable components among the blank sector spaces indicated by the map image. I mean, so it really does tell you, but again, you're going back and forth now between page 23 and 8. And so that was one thing that I found difficulty. Then it was like trying to remember, okay, what is an obstacle? What is an anomaly? Okay, some of these things are cards, some are tokens. Just so understanding that, and some of that was just getting familiar, but it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. First setting the game up, it posed some challenges. All right, let's see. Each player takes their 12 colony tokens. Yeah, so you place the 12 colony tokens on your mat. You only put one down to start so far. Maybe some factions put two, but I've only seen one so far. All right. Okay, and I'm gonna say another thing. Let's talk about the technology. It took me a little bit to wrap my head around this, but basically you get three. Okay, so I'm playing a two-player game, so it says three slots. So basically, these are the only technology cards we're gonna have the whole game. There's gonna be three piles of three. At the very bottom of here are sevens, seven research cost cards, and then the next card is a 3 or 5 cost card. There's one each on each one of these stacks, and then there's a 1 or 2 cost card in the very top, and that's it. That's for the entire game. So once you get through all that, that's all there is to the game, unless something tells you to do something with a stack. All right. So that's going to be that with the science cards. I don't know why, but it just, for me, it gave me a bit of a difficulty. I don't know if I was just other games I had in my head, but I was doing things slightly different than that's all that you need to do. So if you were like me and you're not quite understanding how this technology stack is, it's just simply for the number of slots that it says, 7 on the bottom, 5 or 3 in the middle, 1 or 2 on the top, and you're done. So I think that's it. I think that's it for setup. So let's just talk a little bit about some of these. So these are obstacles. These cards here are obstacles. And I'm going to set them up so they are they're covering the place to put a colony, and that's it. All right, so that's what I want. So that way we can see what type that it is. All right, that covers the setup stuff. So and then we have living galaxy tokens. In the very center is your singularity, and then you have anomalies. I believe these are. All right, so victory conditions. So this is called the cycle board, and there's 4 cycles with the transition in between. These are 2 ages. So there's 2 ages here. You have age 2 that's not revealed, and you have age 1 that is revealed. And these are the goals. Let's take a closer look at this. You see the colors real well, and it has some text in here. You can't see it real well, but basically it says Imperial in gray, Productive in yellow, Scientific in blue, and Exploration at the bottom in green. And these are the things you have to have in order to get a victory point. And you get 1 victory point in the first age, you get 2 victory points in the second age. If you double any of these values, you get an additional 1 victory point regardless of the age. So for example, if I have 2 influence at the end of cycle 2, going in transition to cycle 3, I would get 1 victory point first age. If this was second age, I would get 2 victory points. If I have 3 infantry total, 1 victory point. 6 infantry total, 2 victory points. If I have 1 civil technology card, 1 victory point, 2 civil technology cards, 2 victory points. And finally, if I have, what's this sector called? That's called an arid sector. This is an arid sector. If I control 1 arid sector, I don't believe you have to have a colony on it. You just have to control it. That's a victory point. 2 is 2 victory points. All right. Okay. So the very first player is going to be the VAX 117. Right here, I get to take 2 actions, and then I have to pass to another player. So what are the actions? Well, the first actually, let's back up. The first thing we do to start the game is the income phase. We gain the number of credits indicated on our tracks. So the rightmost space that's showing, so that's 3. VAX 117 will get 3, and over here the Goria will get 4 because they start with a productive colony already in play. So they're going to go up to 4. All right, then trigger any exploitation areas you control if you meet the requirements. Exploitation areas are going to, so far I've only seen them come up on these Living Galaxy tokens, and we have none revealed yet, so that's not going to play into this income phase. Then trigger any during income phase effects and then unexhaust all exhausted components. So if we had exhausted components, we would unexhaust. We do not have any at the start of the game. All right, action phase. During your turn, you must choose 2 actions during the following. Among the following. You must choose 2 actions among the following. You have, let's just take a look up here with me. Actually, I will switch to the other cam because it's just a little easier, I think, for me to show it this way. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, here's the actions. You have recruit, then you have colonize, then you have advance and research, government action, and action card. Okay, so I'm going to go over these as we do them. So the very first time I do any of these, I've already kind of decided, like, how do I want to go through this? I see a lot of other people that do playthroughs. Oh, wow. Shaking all of the. I see a lot of people that either do playthroughs, and one of the things I notice is that they'll go over everything up front, and then by the time they do the action that they explained up front, it's already lost on you. So we're going to take, as the first time I take any new action, we're going to explain it in detail and go from there. Let's look at these action cards. First of all, let's check out the beautiful artwork. I want you to see that. Incredible, isn't it? Oh, I just messed up my stack of cards. You have to get better equipment. All right, let's take a look. So what do we have available to us? We have replaced your ground defense or ground assault tactics with its elite version. So this upgrades one of your conflict cards. Everybody has conflict cards. They're at their basic state up front at first. So there's no elites. So these are conflict cards. So this kind of terminology basically allows you to upgrade your terminal. This card allows you to upgrade. Okay. So then we have gain 1 credit if you have at least 1 colony on each type on the board. Okay, that's definitely not happening anytime soon. Place a victory point on one of the conditions of the objectives. For the rest of the game, this condition also rewards 1 victory point during scoring. Okay. And then what's this? Add an exhausted token to one of your basic actions to gain 1 credit and 1 influence. All right, so do I want to play any of these actions? Yeah, so I think I'm going to pass on these right now. I'm not feeling I want to do that. So let's go back to the main board here and see what basic actions I might want to take instead if I don't want to use an action card. Another thing you can do with an action card, though, well, we'll go over that when I actually take an action. No, I guess I could. Let's talk about it now. So one of the things you're allowed to do is you can take one of these action cards and just get 1 influence. You play it upside down, basically. You don't play it for the card effect. You gain 1 influence on your influence track up here. And then you can, what they call, I want to use the right term, you perform 1 insight. And an insight is, this is what you get to do. One of the following 3 things. You can draw 3 cards from any deck and choose to return each of those cards to either the top or the bottom of that deck in an order of your choice. You can look at all face-down technologies in a single technology slot. A slot is just one of these stacks, okay? So just one of the stacks. And then finally, look at a single face-down component, period. And that could be anything. That could be something already on the board that you have not encountered yet and would like to. So that can be pretty powerful way to get some influence right off the bat and get an idea of where things are at. So maybe you don't want to move your ships and troops to the wrong spot, a place that maybe you have no real interest in for your overall strategy of your game. So with the VAX 117, I know that I only gonna get one infantry, and I want to get infantry as much as possible. So let's see. And part of the ways to do that is to use the deconstructor on my faction card, or faction map. All right, I think the first thing I want to do is take an advance action for one. So I'm going to pay 1 credit. I'm going to slide this advance action up to show that I have selected it. And I get to move the number that shows here up in the Imperial track. The rightmost revealed spot is what you always the rightmost, because it's basically going to be whatever gets revealed because you reveal from left to right. So right now it's 2. So I get to move 2 different units up to 2 spaces because of my scientific technology. Instead of 1, I get to move up to 2 spaces. So let's take the first move, the first of 2 moves doing this. So the first thing I want to do is, well, one more thing we should probably talk about. Well, I've already taken action. Let's look at science next, because I may want to jump on science before I give my opponent an opportunity to get a technology before me. All right, so let's let that pass. All right, I'm going to take one of my light ships along with a infantry, because he's being transported. You can transport up to 2, either mechs or infantry. And we immediately reveal this is a non-habitable planet, which means you can't really put a colony down here unless something tells you to. It has a living galaxy, which we're going to reveal. And this living galaxy is showing if you have a mech during the income step, you can exploit this and get 2 science. And this is called a blight token. So I don't want to stop here because I know I'm not going to be able to colonize in this sector. So I'm going to move again. And I can either move to the center now and put myself in a position to be attacked, or actually, I don't want to look at it that way. I could be in a position to attack as well, but let's face it, I'm not going to be able to attack on my turn. So I could go to there and see what is there, see what the singularity is, or we can go over to this obstacle. And let's see. The only thing you can put here, well, I might do it. I think I'm going to. I'm going to move here. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I can move 2 spaces and jump in there right away. So let's reveal the singularity. It says this is the ancient entity. End of the cycle. Banish an adjacent sector except utopian. End of the game. Gain 3 military. That's if you control this. So I get to banish a sector. And when I no, that's banishing a sector. Okay. That does not have anything to do with the constructor ability of my VAX 117, I don't believe. All right, so now I'm stuck there. And I shouldn't say stuck, because that's actually a pretty good place to be. All right, that's interesting. So I think there's only 1 singularity per game, so it makes every game unique. And that, you'd have to go through several games to get through them all. Let's see, how many are there here? To give you an idea, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 total. So you're going to play this 8 times before you even get through each singularity and what that does. Good variability. Okay, so that was 1 unit that I moved, and I moved the infantry with a light ship that has transport. So now I'm going to take this other unit, another light ship that's transporting an infantry, and we are going to move, I think, because I want a mech. Listen, if we can start getting this engine going, this is a military colony. This is a military colony. I'm going to move here first. Let's see what this obstacle says. All right, suppress the riot. All right, I'm just going to show you guys from now on. Okay, suppress the riot. There we go. Okay, so this is basically if you have two civil technology, not military, but civil technology, you can get an infantry and resolve this at the end of one of your turns. Or you can discard an infantry to resolve it. And the flavor text says, this is cool. So it's called Suppress the Riot, and the flavor text is new civil advancements could help quell the fire, or we could simply extinguish it. Okay? So civil technologies, okay, that's thematic. Civil technologies will result in you getting a free infantry, or you could throw your infantry at the research to help get it established. I guess that's it. Sacrifice manpower or have the civil technology you need. All right. So that's that. Now, if I wanted to resolve this, I would have to stay. Hold on, let's drop this. I would have to stay here and end my movement right there because I can't. I have to do. I believe I have to resolve these at the end of your turn. So right now, I don't have the science, and I don't want to get rid of an infantry. So let me move on then. Even though I really did want to colonize, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to colonize. Okay. So I'm going to move to. Do I want to go to anomaly or another obstacle? I think I'm going to go to another obstacle. Yep, I'm going to move in here. Oh, no. Oh, hold on, hold on. I could also move up to this productive sector and make sure that I can get some increased income. But again, I think I want to get out before the next income phase. I want to see if I can get out a mech. Can I get a mech out? Possibly. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it anyway, so it doesn't really matter just yet. Let's go here though. I want to see what the anomaly is while I'm moving through my sectors. So, take a look. The anomaly is phase disruption. You can discard 2 science tokens and have a light ship to gain 2 artifact cards, discarding 1 and keeping 1. And there's this place is protected by some artificially created phase disruption. Okay, phase disruption. That's if I want to get rid of that. I don't have 2 science tokens. I could possibly do this, and I may just do this one. I think I am. Okay, so my second action, I am gonna take research. I'm gonna spend a credit, take the research action. I'm gonna get 2 science. I'm immediately gonna expend it. I have a light ship here. So I overcome, let's get rid of this. I overcome this anomaly and I get 2 artifact cards and I have to discard 1. All right, and then it says, Deconstructor says, when you remove 1 or more anomaly, for example, from the board during your turn, add 1 infantry to one of the sectors you remove the component from. Why does it say to one of the sectors? Wouldn't I have just removed it from one sector? That's okay. All right, I get an infantry, and that's important because it's hard for me to get them. Okay, now let's take a look at the technology or the artifact. Let's see what my 2 choices are here. The first is cloaking device. During a battle, when you reveal a tactic with the same initiative as the other player, resolve your card first, and then abandon colony. Immediately gain 2 influence and 2 science. Woo! Well, I like that. I want to take abandon colony right away. So 2 influence and 2 science. And with the science, I'm gonna have okay, now let's talk about I'm not taking a scientific action because I've already done that. So what I have to do with these science tokens, I believe, since I'm not taking an actual research action, is I have to put them off to the side. I'll put them right here above my player mat or on my player mat to signify that I've earned these, but I can't assign them yet until I take the research action. So I'm going to discard these 2 cards out of the game. I'll just put them over here. So those are discarded. And we That is it. I've taken 2 turns now with VAX 117. I move over to Goria. And what's the first turn that Goria may want to take now? There's tons of options you're going to have before you every turn. Now, when you're playing, now you got to remember, I'm playing 2 different characters. I have no time in between. The time I would normally would take during a real game, when my opponent is playing, I don't care what they're doing. I mean, I care to an extent, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. So when it is my turn, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to take action. I'm not just waking up from the movie I'm watching of the other player. Now that's being efficient. It doesn't necessarily mean you're enjoying it to the max, but that's what I try to do in one of these games that have lots of options to reduce analysis paralysis. So it works for me and works for some of the people that I've communicated this to and understand, think like me, or at least understand what I'm saying, and it makes games like this go a little quicker. Although we always end up stopping and talking about something cool, right? That's the point of playing games together. All right, so anyway, I will pause and come back when I am ready to take an action. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to spend, no, you don't spend anything for this. I'm going to slide the action token up for taking an action card action. Let me show you that real quick. Right here, slide that up. I'm taking the action card action. And I've decided to go with private contracts here. Replace your ground defense or ground assault tactic with its elite versions. So let's go over what this does. And then the previous player moves I'm going to get him down, a living storm. All right, so let's do that first. Let me move a living storm. So as the VAX 117, I want to deny him stuff, right? One of the things, he's already denied this production. I think I'd like to deny him possibly this production as well. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll go back to this now. All right. So let's talk about that. So I have 2 stacks of cards here. This face down card is all my elite versions of my conflict cards. I believe they're called conflict cards. It's conflict phase. So I can upgrade either ground defense or ground assault. So let's first take a look at those 2 cards. And maybe why we would want to choose one or the other. So let's see. All right, so that's ground defense. Ground defense shows you have a defense against a retreat, a defense against an attack, and a defense against an attack where you decide the casualty. And it says for each damage blocked by this card, the attacker suffers a retreat. Now, that would be good because the Goria likes people to retreat because then they can capture their unit and put in their bone coin pool. So this would be good. For each damage, okay, after all the tactics are resolved, return 1 non-defense tactic from your discard to your hand. That's important because one of the things about this conflict phase is as you play these cards, you don't get them back. So you battle it out using the cards that you have available that make sense, meaning you have the unit that's on the card, and you discard that card. It's done, and you won't get that back unless a card effect like this gives it to you. So that's ground defense. Now let's look at ground assault. Ground assault gives you quite a few options here. If you have 1 infantry, you can impose a casualty of your choice and then also a retreat. 2 infantry, 2 casualties of your choice. I'm sorry, not of your choice. 2 casualties of the opponent's choice, and then 2 retreats. Then if you have the tech upgrade, which you would know because you'd have the tech upgrade card, you would also get the bottom ability, which I don't have, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I think out of the 2 cards, I think I like ground defense. I think that could come in handy. So I'm going to upgrade that. I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to take my stack of beginner cards and ground defense. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put it in the unused cards, my upgrade stack, and I'm going to just add this now. So now I have this available to me. I'm going to take this card and I place it on my mat to show that, okay, I've done that, because sometimes I forget to put my action marker up. But if I have the card here, I'm like, okay, obviously I took an action card. So you replace this right away. So that was action 1 of Goria's turn. An action to the new card. Let's see the new card. Advanced Logistics. Remove an exhausted action token from one of your basic actions if you control at least 4 adjacent sectors. That's not even close to being a situation in the game right now. Okay, so action 2. I think the next thing I want to do is advance. I want to put some, I need to start defending my space and put some pressure on VAX 117 so he doesn't think he's going to just roll up in here and take over. So the first movement, I paid the credit right here, went down from 4 to 3. First movement, I'm going to take one of these guys. I'm going to go into this non-habitable sector, and I'm going to look at the living galaxy. It is, okay, it has a red effect. I think that might be immediate, or that's one of the things with this game. The token iconography, sometimes it's hard. But if you control this sector during the income phase, you can exploit this to get an influence if you have a light ship here. And it's called precursor key. But I want to look up what that icon is up at the top, and I think I know where to look. It's called block movement. When entering this sector, units end their movement immediately. When leaving this sector, units can only move a distance of 1. So you kind of want to get in and out of here. All right, makes sense. So that's one move. And the other move, I'm going to go, I think I'm going to try to prevent him from coming in. I'm going to go to this anomaly and reveal it. And this is a mystery sector. And I can put either a research or a military colony here. And then let's take a look at this. This is hostile life forms. You can discard 2 science tokens. And if you have 2 infantry here, you can gain 2 artifact cards, discarding 1, keeping the other. And it says at the bottom, let's get this flavor text in there. Hold on. Huge predators and ethereal beasts inhabit this sector. Okay, ethereal beasts. Okay, so this is a pretty scary place to be. We cannot resolve this right now. So that is not going to get resolved for sure. And they're blocked from production areas. These 2 production sector. Oh, okay, second. Okay, they're blocked. I blocked them from these 2 sectors unless they backdoored their way in, and they can't. They don't have the movement. They cannot colonize. Let's see. When I say it's not like I'm playing. I'm just playing these 2 factions the way I probably would play them. I'm not trying to have one win over the other. It doesn't matter. I just want to show you guys a playthrough of the game. And again, it's not a review. I just want to play through it and let you decide what you think of the game. Okay. So I took the action card so far, and that was a advance action. Oh, I think I forgot to move it. I'm moving it now. So that was an advance action. I did the action card. 2 actions are done here. All right, back over to VAX 117. They need a mech to come in the game. They need some science tokens to overcome this suppress the riot obstacle. Let's see. We'll come back after I decide what to do with VAX 117. I am going to spend 1 credit and I am going to colonize. And when you colonize, you can take any one of these leftmost faction tokens and put them in play as long as the colony icon is showing that it's something that can belong there. Okay, so let's see. I can either have research here or a military, and I'm definitely going for the military because, again, I need a mech. So I'm going to colonize. I'm going to place a military colony here. And that is it. And then I'm going to follow that up with a government action. The government action, you can come over here, and I want to talk real quick. Okay, let's talk about this because this is one thing I noticed in the rules that's different. With everything else, you use influence, I noticed, except for these government actions. So when you use a government action, I believe the rules state for each 3 influence I have, add 1 infantry or 1 light ship to a sector with your units. Now, you don't spend this influence. You just have to have it. And for each time you have that many, you don't move the influence marker down at this point. It's simply to use this as an action, okay? So I'm going to put one infantry down. Hold on a second. All right. I'm going to put one infantry down over here. So that way this has two, because each one of these light ships can't transport more than two anyway. All right, so I've used my government action. That is another two actions for the VAX 117. We come back over now to the Goria, and Goria has to decide what they want to do. Okay, so one of the things you need to know, I haven't said it yet, you can take any one of these basic actions one time. Recruit, advance, colonize, research. I should have set that up front. Maybe I'll move this part of the video to the beginning. And then you can take an action card action two times, and then when you take it the second time, you must pass. When you pass, the first person that passes gets this first player marker, and they turn it over to the watcher side. They become the watcher, and we'll talk about why the watcher is important later and why passing is important later. Okay. All right. So the government action you can do once as well. But you don't. Why did they put the government action over here? Because the government action doesn't cost you anything. You just take it. If you can take it, you take it. I don't think you can take it if you can't actually perform the action. But if you can take that action. So I think I'm going to recruit. I'm going to take the recruit action, get two infantry, put them on the starting colony, start building up some forces. And one research isn't that great right now. And I don't want to take a card action because that'll end my turn. And I can't colonize, which really hurts. Let's take a look at the cards. All right, I'm going to take the research action for one. I'm going to get one research token because that's all I get afforded to me, and I'm going to come over here and take a look at research. So we want to try to get a civilian technology if we can. This is called automated extractions. During the income phase, your units may trigger exploitation areas from adjacent sectors, even if you don't control them. Okay, so that could be important. What does that mean? That means you could be one sector away and still get the exploitation bonus, which no longer requires you to be in that sector. That could be very useful. And let's see, during your action phase, we have orbital colony here. It says during your action phase, you can colonize non-habitable sectors with non-productive colonies. So if it's non-habitable, now it becomes, oh, that's exactly what okay, we're done. We already know we want that one, but let's continue. So then we have finally cybersecurity link, and this one says start of the conflict phase, inflict one retreat to enemy units in two different contested sectors with your colonies. So if you're on the attack, it's not going to help you, but on the defense, it will. But nonetheless, in order to satisfy the overall victory points for the game, so now we know for sure we want this because if we can colonize a non-habitable sector with non-productive colonies, that allows us to colonize this, even though we wouldn't normally be able to, and we're definitely going to want to do that. Plus, this gives us a victory point because it lines up with the victory points here. So we spend our science to get that. You'll notice that there's a face-down card in the slot, and it stays that way until the end of the cycle. Okay, now let's talk about that is four actions. What was that action? That was a science. That was a research action. So that was four actions for the Goria. We're back to VAX 117. So VAX 117 is a little. They're on notice. They're on notice now because they realize there's a military buildup going on over there. And now the Goria can colonize. All right, so we'll come back when I have chosen what to do with VAX 117. Okay, so one of the things I decided to do is I am for the first time going to take an action in which I have to exhaust my token. They call it depletion, okay? So I'm going to deplete my token. If I've been calling it exhaust throughout the video, use those interchangeably, synonymously, depletion and exhaust. So it says you can perform a basic action without paying 1 credit by depleting it. To do this, slide the action marker up and then lift it and flip it to its deletion size with the number 2 on top. This is how much you have to pay an influence. Whatever the number is at the top is what you have to pay an influence. I know you can't see it real well here, but sometimes these can get flipped up or down based on other effects in the game. That's why there are 0, 1, 2, and 3, but you'll always, when you first deplete a token, put it at 2. Okay? So then depleted actions cannot be performed. So once it's depleted, you cannot do this again until you've basically have refreshed it between cycles. There's also in-game effects that you add or remove depleted actions from basic actions. You flip the action marker to its depleted side. Whenever an effect asks you to add or remove a depletion token from a basic action, flip the action marker to its depleted or normal side. Okay. I think we've gone over that enough. So now that I can take the recruit action, and of course I want to recruit my very first mech. And when you recruit, let's see where it says you recruit. Spend 1 credit and deplete the action. I depleted it. Select one available unit type from your military track. I'm choosing a mech. Check the total number of visible icons. There's 1. Deploy up to that many units from your reserve minimum on sectors with your colony. Okay, that's what I wasn't sure of. Whether it could be my colony or with my units. It could be either. So wouldn't it be best to... I can't transport it if I put it here. So I'm going to put it on my starting plan and assuming I'm going to get some more ships there at some point. Because I can get 2 light ships if I recruit down there instead of just 1 like before. All right, so now I'm going to take an action card action. I already know that because I basically have nothing else to do. So let's see what we got. All right, I'm just going to play this. I'm going to take an action card action. I'm going to play this face down. That's going to give me an influence. And I'm going to go through... Okay, that goes on my player board. And I'm going to immediately replace it, but that allows me to... Actually, the first thing is I play the card. So the first thing I do is this. I look through... This is called Insight. I look through, I think it's 3 cards. I'm almost positive it's 3. Yeah, it's 3 cards. Okay, so 3 cards. Gain 1 influence for each player with more depletion on their basic actions than you. I don't. They don't have more. Replicate the effect of a face-up action card played by another player during this cycle. Oh, that could be useful. Spend 1 credit to place a non-productive colony in a sector you control, ignoring restrictions. Oh my goodness. That is so beast. And it's going to go away at the end of the cycle. Okay. Well, I can plan for this. I'm going to put this one last because I want it. Okay. And this will be the one that actually gets put out here. I took the action. That's it. I'm done. That's 6 actions. 6 actions. I come back over here. The Goria is going to spend 1 to colonize. And they're definitely going to go... Let's see. Where are they going to go? What do they need? They need influence pretty badly. It's got to be a non-productive. They need science. They're going to put science down, and that is not going to give them anything yet. They can't take the government action, and so they're going to take their final card action. They're going to take supply. Yeah, supply shortages. Gain 1 influence for each player with more depletion tokens on their basic actions than you, and then gain 1 on top of that. So it gives them 2. They don't get to take the insight, but I don't really think that they care. So they pass first. They're going to become the watcher, and I'm going to show you why this is important. And that leaves us with taking some final actions here. Oh, and I have science too I have to use. I can't forget about that. I thought I took a science action, a research. Oh, I did, but I discarded those. And then I earned some later. Okay. I took a research action. Okay. All right. So we're going to take the final card action here. Oh, this should have came out. This says replicate the effect of a face-up action card played by another player during this cycle. By another player. All right, so I tell you, I'm gonna also replace my ground defense or ground assault. All right, that's what I'm gonna do. Let's do that real quick. Except I know I want assault. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna pull out the normal assault and put it my unused cards. All right, so that is a full cycle of the game. That's what's called a cycle. So now let's go, and I will tell you, this reference sheet is very good for this. Let's go to the end of conflict phase. So if you have yours in hand, why don't you take a look at it? It says the very first thing, the watcher recruits one infantry or one ship, light ship for free, or performs a single movement order. Mm. A light ship would be nice to get these guys out of here. But a movement order already being set somewhere for next round would be great. But let's go with that light ship. We don't want to have guys stranded. And this will alleviate us from having to take a recruiting action to get a light ship. We may not even want any. Then place a battle medal on each contested sector. We have none. There's no conflict anywhere. There's no place where there are blue and yellow pieces. Then resolve battles in every sector with battle medals. Let me get some water here. I'm feeling parched. And then resolve the battles, resolve sieges if there are any after the other battles are done, and then you'd claim any medals. So that's the conflict phase. So we've done everything we could do, which was we awarded the Watcher with a light ship. Now we're going to go to end of cycle. So prestige check. Gain one influence for each opponent with fewer battle medals than you. That's the first thing we do here. That no one has battle medals because we haven't had any conflict, okay? Then Utopian reward. Resolve the effect indicated by the singularity card. And now I'm allowed to do this because I control the space. Banish an adjacent sector except Utopian. I don't want to banish a sector, I don't believe. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Then cleanup. Flip all face down visible technologies. Okay, so let's come over here. That's face down. It's revealed. Okay, that's good. And then depletion upkeep. Spend influence to flip your depleted action markers from the normal side back up. So now I have a very cool end of cycle called removing a depleted cycle from your research action costs one less. So I'm going to pay this cost because I don't want to have that issue with my recruit not being able to be used next cycle. Okay, now we determine the first player. Now the watcher is who selects the player to go first. Now, I don't have any reason why I wouldn't want to go first as the Goria faction, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and give it to myself. And then advance the cycle marker right over here. We're going to advance this to 2. And then at the end of this cycle, I'm going to take you through a transition phase, and that's where I'm going to end the video because I just want to give players an idea of what the most recent Kickstarter version release gameplay is like with a 2-player game. I'm excited to play the single-player campaign, and I'm excited to play the multiplayer single-player game, or not single-player game, but a single play session with multiplayers. I can't wait to do that as well. But for now, I just want to show you 2 cycles with the transition in between and give you an idea of what that's like, what the gameplay is like, and get this out there for you guys to watch and consume. Okay. So we've done everything we can do. Now, one of the things it doesn't talk about is putting your action markers back. I don't know if it's handled somewhere else. But let's go. I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. I'm going to put all the tokens, action markers back down to their spot. All right, new cycle. First player. All right, doesn't matter because we have to do the income phase. Let's go over gain a number of credits and indicated on your production track. So it's 4 for Goria. It is 3 for VAX 117. Up, I have to discard these cards. By the way, up. One thing we forgot to do. Oh, clean up, discard all the action cards. I didn't do that very well. So during cleanup, you flip up all the action. All I did. I did the technologies. I did the technologies. I did not do the action cards. So let me do that real quick. So you discard all these. You discard to include one more that would have come out, and that's the one. Oh well, what could he do? So that's out of here. You reveal 4 new action cards to go into the new cycle. Okay, so we're going to come back when I've decided what to do with Goria's very first turn of cycle 2. Okay, the very first thing they're going to do, Goria is going to do, is take an advance. Okay, so let's see. The first advance that's going to be taken is now, because it has science 2 now, it can move to 2 technology spaces, or 2 technology. It can move 2 spaces with 2 different units. So it's going to move the first one here. It's going to move here, and it's going to stop because it wants to be able to satisfy this at the end of its action. And then with its second action, it's going to take this one. Oh, by the way, we should have got this. One influence for Goria. During the income phase, yes, I forgot that they controlled this sector. They controlled this sector, so they're absolutely allowed to do that. Let me go back. Let me go back. I'm actually not going to do what I just did. The first move is not going to be this to here. Okay, it is not. It is going to be from here to here because remember, they can only move one space out of here anyway. And in order to get to have the 2 infantry that I need to satisfy this, that's what I'm going to do. And now with this one, they can move 2, and we're going to swing over here, revealing this card for two technology tokens. We get an influence, or we can just lose an infantry, and we resolve this. So do I want to stay here and resolve this, or do I want to move on with my extra movement? And I think I'm going to move on with my extra movement because I also need to get a little closer to this productive sector. All right, so here's the next one. Undisciplined troops have a mech and get an influence, or reduce your influence by 1. All right, that's what's in here. So they're going to reduce their influence by 1 to satisfy this one here, and they have no ability like VAX 117 does for Deconstructor. So it just goes away, and that is all that happens. And then I think I'm going to finally take this government action here because they finally have a 3 influence. As an action, for each 3 influence, place 1 living galaxy in a sector you control or add 1 unit from another player's reserve to your bone coin pool. I like the idea of adding a living galaxy token. Let's do that. Okay, this one gives for infantry, if you have 1 infantry at this ancient gate, you'll get an influence. That's what it does. And then it has some tactic. You have to discard 2 tactics cards before a conflict if you're attacking the sector and it's controlled by somebody else. I believe that's what this ancient gate is. All right, so that's done. That's 2 actions now by the Goria. Let's take 2 actions with VAX 117. All right, VAX 117 knows it wants to deconstruct living galaxies obstacles, anomalies, and living storms. Because it gives us infantry for free. All right, so we have that mech now. Let's go ahead. Let's take a recruit option. Do I want to do that though? Right now? Is that something I want to do? Let me ask myself. I have the mech. I don't know if that's top priority at this point. I think the first thing I'm going to do is colonize. I'm going to pay one to colonize, and I am going to put productive right here in the very center of the galaxy. And that is the first action. Let me take a look at the action cards now. We haven't looked at those in a while. What do we have for action cards? We have, take a look at that card art. We have Naval Tradition. Add one light ship to every sector with at least 2 of your space units. Okay, and then move 1 Living Storm. Look at this. Look at this one here. Look at that card art, beautiful. Recruitment Decree. You may add 1 infantry to each sector with your colonies. That is huge. Overexploitation. Overexploitation. Gain the resources from the exploitation area of a living galaxy you control, ignoring its requirements, then banish it. Gain an influence. And then finally we have, look at the card art. Corrupted Patents. Banish the top card from a technology slot of your choice, then place 2 science on that slot and reveal any face-down technology. Wow. Okay. All right, so that's those 4 cards. I do want to use one of the technology cards, the action cards. So let me grab that one. It says you may add 1 infantry to each sector with your colonies. I'm going to do that immediately. 1, 2, 3. Absolutely, that was smart. And then I replaced that card. So that is 2 actions now with VAX 117. We go back over to Goria. Goria is going to take Goria is going to pay 1 to take a research action, getting 2 research, which it's going to discard right here for this anomaly. Actually, I'm just going to show you. Let's pull this up. Let's go through this. All right, to get rid of this anomaly, hostile life forms, we have to discard 2 research, have 2 infantry, and then we'll get 2 artifacts and discarding 1, keeping the other. And all right, I think I already showed you this, so let's do that. We're going to discard the 2 science tokens that we just got. So I gained them and I put them right back in here. They're gone. And then this is out of here, and we get 2 of these cards, and let's take a look at those. The first is the Prism of Power. And it says, during your action phase, as an action, permanently attach this card to a technology with a icon I have to look up and a cost of 2 or less. Increase its bold effect by 1. Its bold effect. And then we have inferior civilization. Immediately banish 1 colony token from your empire board. If you don't have one, banish another. I'm taking this one anyway, so I'm not even going to bother to look up the other one because that's very important. So what do? We are going to take the leftmost colony token for Imperial and banish it out of the game. I'm going to put it over here. It's out of the game. So, but it reveals the next slot, and it also gives me that influence. So I move up 1. Okay. So that was 1 of 2 actions. Oh, I just took the action too early. Okay. I should not have resolved this already. So I'm going to have to move this part to after I take this next action I'm about to take. So let's do the next action right now, which is going to be, I'm going to do colonize, but I'm going to do it over here since this would have happened first. And I'm going to do I'm going to do science colony, and that's going to immediately give me 2 science. And that 2 science, I am going to put on my player board because I'm not taking the research action. So if I took the research action, I could assign it over here, but I'm not. So that's all 4 actions for Goria. Now we have to take 2 more actions with VAX 117. VAX 117 would like to, I believe, start advancing with these units. We already colonized. Yeah, let's go ahead and take an advance order action. And we are going to bring this mech over here. Oh, no, we can't. We don't have. Hold on. Hold on. We're going to have to recruit first. Yes, let's recruit first. I'll recruit. I'll get 2 of these ships. Then we'll do the advance. Okay, so the advance is done. And then we'll go like this. And then we'll go here. Let's see what we got. We can just reveal it. We don't have to stay here if we don't want to. All right. Suppress the riot. Either have 2 civil technology cards and gain an infantry, or get rid of an infantry to get rid of this. So it's just like the one right here. These are actually identical. Unfortunately, that was just bad luck that I got 2 of the same thing. All right. So do I want to get rid of an infantry to get rid of that? I already did my 2 actions, so I can do that if I want. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to. Because guess what? I'm gonna get him back anyway. Because with Deconstructor, he would come right back. Because I removed a obstacle card. All right, so that is out of here. All 4 actions are done by VAX 117. Back over here for Goria for 2 actions. We can do an action card or recruit. I think we're going to do action card, so let's go ahead and do that right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and take Naval Tradition, add 1 light ship to every sector with at least 2 of your space units. I think I want to do that. Make sure space units are. Oh no, the ships are space units. Yeah, so that's only going to give me 1 ship. That's not worth it. I think we're going to do this. Move 1 light ship 2 sectors away, ignoring pin down, and move, ignoring, oh, and yeah. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move it right here. That's what I'm going to do. So that's an action card action taken. Replenish this. And then I can recruit, which I think I'm going to do for 1. And we're going to put 2 spaceships here. Oh no, I can only, yeah, 2 troops, 2 troops. We'll do troops. So that's done. So 6 actions done by Goria. Moving back over to VAX 117. Let's see. We badly need to research, so I'm going to go ahead and deplete this to take the research action. It's going to give me 2 research. And now I'm going to be able to place 4 research tokens down because I already had 2. So let's see what I want. Okay, so with 1, I'm going to take Cyberlink Security, which inflicts a retreat to enemy units in 2 different contested sectors with my colonies. I have 3 left to spend. And I want to try to get double the bonus. So I want to try to get another one. I'm going to get automated extractors. It says your units may trigger exploitation areas from adjacent sectors even if you don't control them. I like that. That's 2. Then I'm going to put 1 for the third one. I'm going to improve my flanking attack or swarm attack card. All right. So let's do that right now. I don't believe I have swarm. I think that's a very faction specific, but I do have flanking. Okay, so I'm going to take the flanking upgrade card. It's the elite version, and I'm going to switch it out with the normal card. And take a look at these real quick. Yes. All right. So what I've decided to do was use tactical withdrawal. It's my final action. I have to pass. I'm going to get the Watcher token. Move all your units from one sector to an adjacent sector without enemy units, ignoring restrictions. So all from 1 to 1. And that's the way I'm going to be able to show you a conflict. I'm going to go from here to here. Keep my guy there. All right. So we finally got a situation that we wanted, which is now I can have a conflict. So these two cards I used. So VAX 117 is done. Okay. It is over. Now, Goria can still take an action, card action. So let's replenish. And let's see if Goria wants to do any of that. We know it's going to take the action, so let's go ahead and flip the token. Let's see which one Goria is going to choose. All right. It's going to take over exploitation. And that says gain the resources from an exploitation area of a living galaxy. I'm going to do this one right here. Ignoring its requirements, then banish it. Gain a influence as well. So I'm going to gain an influence from this and also from this. So I'm up to 6. So that's my second card action. So that's all action. All action. Action phase is now over, and this is banished. So now let's go into our first conflict phase. So it says the Watcher, the very first thing, the Watcher, which is me, recruits one ship or infantry for free or performs a single movement order. I'm going to recruit a infantry right here. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to it's hard for me to get infantry on the game anyway because I can only put one, add one, so I want to take advantage of that. Plus, it gives me more options with my cards and taking casualties. All right, place battle medals on each contested sector. So now we have our first battle medal that'll go here, and then resolve a siege. Oh, we have to resolve the battle. So let's go over everything with the battle now. Conflict phase. During this phase, players resolve conflicts in every contested sector. The conflict phase is resolved by the following steps. The Watcher recruits. I did that. We did the battle medal. We resolved the battle. So let's go for battle resolution. Each battle consists of several turns during which players choose and resolve their tactics cards. So the first thing we do is prepare. Each player gathers their valid tactics cards in their hand. It's considered valid if you can trigger at least one of the listed effects on it with units you currently have in the sector. So let's talk about that. Let's go through each one real quick here. I'm going to put on this other cam so we can go through. All right, so let's first look at we have an infantry unit and a light ship. So that's the first thing we want to talk about. Now let's go through these cards. So this card's valid because it's got infantry. This card's valid because it's a general defense card. It can be played regardless. This has light ships, but not enough. See how the minimum is 2? Well, we can't use that, so that's not valid. This is valid. No mechs. Yeah, we don't have what it takes for this one. It's not valid. This is a basic card. It doesn't require units. Same. We can use this because it's got infantry. And this we cannot use. Okay? So these are the valid cards. That's what valid means. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and do it for the VAX 117. Okay. The next thing we do Choose and resolve are tactic cards. Each player simultaneously chooses and reveals a valid tactics card from their hand. Resolve the revealed tactics card from the lowest to the highest initiative. All right, let's talk about that. Um, so I wanted to, there's two ways I wanted to do this. Either intentionally with showing some strategy or just playing these legitimately random. I think I'm going to go with strategy. So we already know that they like to have units retreat. So it would make sense for them to play something that would either keep them um, retreat somebody from that space. So maybe ground. Let's go with ground defense. Let's just try it. So they're gonna play the ground defense card. And what would I play? Okay, so I have lots of options. I'm gonna let's see. I probably would assume they would retreat, but just for the sake of like playing this out, I'm gonna do something different. I want something with infantry heavy. I'm gonna play ground assault elite. That's my best card. So here we go. That's the one I'm choosing. All other cards are kept to the side as valid tactics cards because this battle could be several phases of conflict. So we're just doing the very first one. All right, so then we reveal them. Let's reveal them. So I have a 3 initiative. Hold on. Let's show you close up. See how my ground assault has a 3 up here in the corner? That's its initiative value. So it doesn't come into play just yet. So let's see now what Goria's. Goria is a 0, so it goes first. Okay, so it's going to block a retreat, a direct damage, and an indirect damage. And I have, okay, so my card is going to trigger. This one's already in play. So this is already in effect. This is already in effect. It's been played. So then my card is going to, let's put all this to the side. My card, I'm going to use the 2 infantry to inflict 2 indirect damage and 2 retreat. Let me make sure these are the right terms. Yeah, indirect damage and 2 retreat markers. So he's going to block a retreat and he's going to block an indirect damage. And it says for each damage blocked by this card, the attacker suffers 1 retreat. So guess what? Then it chains. So then it chains with this. Once per battle, when you successfully force an enemy unit to retreat, you may add it to your bone coin pool. It talks about 1 unit singular. So I'm going to take 2 units are going to retreat. 1 is going to go to the bone collector, and 1 I'm going to put back here. All right. With that said, let's go back to the cards now. After all tactics are resolved, return 1 non-defense tactic cards from your discard to your hand. That's not going to apply. So I still retreat a unit and destroy 1. So he's going to retreat this ship here. Take us to a place with a colony and then destroy 1. Now, what happens next? So you repeat this process until a single player's unit remain in the sector or until a player no longer has valid cards to play. And that is the situation we have here. It's just my units. Then we look at victory conditions. If only 1 player has surviving units in the sector, they win. If no player has any more units, but there's a colony in the sector, the owner wins. If no player has any more units and there is no colony in the sector, the result is a draw. If a player doesn't have any valid tactics to play, they must remove all of their units from the sector they are considered missing in action. All right, so I have the victory. Okay, and then it talks about after battle resolution, you can do one of 2 things. You can do a siege, either a raise or an invade. Okay, and we don't have that situation because there is no colony in play here, no enemy colony. So let's make sure we did all the steps for conflict. We resolve the battle in every sector with battle medals. We resolve sieges in every sector with colonies. That's done. And then we claim the medal. So I would claim this 1 medal. That's the final thing to do. I claim the medal. Put it over here in my play area. And then that's it. We go to the end of cycle phase, first with the prestige check. I gain 1 influence because I have more battle medals. So I gain that. Utopian Sector Award, I can banish. I'm not going to do that. Nope, I'm not going to do that. Clean up. Okay, that's the one. Let's discard our cards. We would draw new cards. I'm not going to go into a new. This would be over. These cards would get returned to our hand. We would reveal 4 new cards. I'm going to go put all these action tokens down, even though I don't exactly see where that's supposed to happen. Let's see, depletion upkeep. I did have a depletion, so I'm going to go ahead and pay the cost. 1. I think it was my recruit. Determine the first player. That will be me because I had the Watcher token. Advance the cycle marker. All right, now we're going into transition. So now we have to do the transition steps. And the transition steps are as such. During the transition, players score victory points when they meet the conditions of the objective cards. So let's go down the list here. Let's take a look. All right, here's the objective card. Let's do VAX 117 first. VAX 117 right now has 4 influence. So it is going to gain. We're going to score 1 victory point for having 2 influence and an additional victory point for having an additional 2 influence. So that gives us 2. So what do? We come over here. I want to show you real quick. So this affects your Imperial track. So we are going to, this is the Imperial. If you remove the dice, you can see Imperial underneath it. So we move this to a 2. It goes from 0 to 2. And that's how this works as far as victory points in the game. The only other way you can get victory points is getting these little chits that come in the game from time to time based on effects from action cards. Probably other ways too. All right, so now let's take a look. Now, if we have 3 infantry, okay, this is pretty bad. If we have 3 infantry, we get a victory point for productive. We have a total of 6 on the board. So we're going to get 2 victory points for production. Productive, all right. 2 victory points there. And we get a victory point for each civil technology, not each. We get 1 for 1, and we get an additional victory point for having 2. We do have 2, as you can see. So that goes to science. And the final one is to control an exploration site. And we do control. Oh, wait. We do not. That's an arid section. Yeah. No, we don't. Hold on, let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, this matches this, but we don't have control of that. So no victory points there. Now let's go over to Goria. Take a look. Let's see. Influence, Goria has 6. Now it doesn't matter though, because 6, you only get an additional 1 victory point 1 time. So the most the Goria can get from this transaction is 2 victory points, which it's going to get for Imperial. Then we're looking at infantry. It's 1 short because of that combat from getting 2 victory points. It'll only get 1 because of the combat. It took 1 loss, so now it's down to 5 total on the board, as you can see. 5 total. Sorry about the glare. Scientific, we have 1 technology card. It fell off the board here. We only have 1 civil technology. That gives us 1 science victory points. So there you have it, one science victory point. And that's it. There are no additional victory. Hold on. Exploration. Let's see if they control. They do control the site. They control the site. Unlike us, they control this sector, so they'll get one victory point. For exploration, which is right here. So let's look at the total score. After 2 cycles, we have Goria coming in at 5 total victory points. Goria coming in at 5 total victory points to 6 with VAX 117. And VAX 117 so far in this game is the winner. So now you have an idea how this game plays. I can't wait to edit this and put it out for you guys to see. Let's get rid of that. So all in all, this is my third attempt at playing this game, playing through it. I played through it 2 times. This is my third play. Um, Again, everything you need to know is in the rule books. It is in the box. Everything I needed to know to play so far is there. It's just that you may have to go through the rule book, go through these reference sheets, and possibly try to use some logical deduction between some of the action cards and some of the science technology cards, and even some of the what do we call it? Artifact cards. So there's a lot of iconography, and again, sometimes it's going to require you to do some research. But once you get this down, you got to realize this was not long so far. And if I was not sitting here explaining everything, and I was only playing just just one faction, and that's it, this would be a pretty quick game. And I think that's what it's meant to do, to deliver us with quality components, with a full universe feeling of playing a 4X space exploration game in a much shorter period of time. And hopefully they've accomplished that. But you decide whether you liked what you saw here, whether if you would like to see a full playthrough, let me know, because right now this is probably all I'm going to do unless somebody changes my mind. But I do enjoy this. I have no regrets about backing it personally. Like I said, I cannot give you a review. I have not played it nearly enough to even bother to begin reviewing it. But now you at least know what it's like to play. You've seen it played, and you can either get out your game of Fractal Beyond the Void and start playing yourself, or if you can order it, or you can find it on eBay, or find it from the manufacturer's website. This is a game from Board Game Inc. So if you can go to their website and see if you can get a copy of the game, give it a shot. But I'm happy with kickstarting it so far. I don't feel that's a regret. And then I want to thank all of you for being here and watching, and have a wonderful day. Okay, take care. Bye.